Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining. Just a couple more still joining, so we'll just wait for a minute if everyone's okay with that. So grab yourself a glass of water and I'll be into it very shortly. All right, good to see some good numbers there. So let's kick off. Thanks for joining, everybody. I'm Hayden Prestige, based out of Sydney, and with me today is Brad Fulcher, but it's all about hygiene and contamination, or anti-contamination, stopping contamination in concrete. So while we are just kicking off, let's jump into some quick housekeeping. Obviously, you signed up. It was myself and Wade Lanham. Now he has fallen ill. Sadly, there's a lot of sickness going around, so thankfully Brad Fulcher has stepped in, so thanks, Brad. We will be going through this. We'll make it very interactive where possible, so anywhere you've got questions or just please use the Q&A chat, the chat box there, and we'll do a session at the end where we'll answer any questions live or raise your hand, things like that. And but please feel free to chip in with comments as that's where you get the most benefit, us and you. So look forward to that. Let's kick off with a quick poll, just so we get a little bit of a feeling of our audience, where you're from, what's your background. So if you want to just tick one of those boxes for us quickly, that'd be much appreciated. Those joining, thanks for still joining. Just kicking off with a quick poll. What's your background, just so we can tailor our conversation. So I'll leave that open for a little bit more. That's good to see. We've got a whole lot involved with design side. So that's good. Welcome aboard, everyone involved with design. And obviously always good to see, was it 25% odd and interested in new technologies. So well done, being a innovative mindset. It's good to have you on board. So I'm Hayden Prestige, based in Sydney, been with Markham for coming up 8 years, and came out of the construction industry. So off the tools and into something I'm very passionate about, protecting and getting the most out of concrete. And with me today is Brad Fulcher. Brad.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Once again, thanks for joining. Brad Fulcher here. I'm based in the Sydney office. It's good to see some good weather over here. Finally getting some sunshine, so that's great. But yeah, really keen to get into this webinar and have some good discussions with you guys.
Cheers, Brad. Looks like I'm missing that setup. I've been into that office for a few weeks. Nice little setup there. So it's good. So if we can click to the next slide, let's have a quick look at our learning outcomes, what we want to discuss here, and what we're going to get some input from you as an audience too. Now, this is all about contamination and floor slabs, some of the risks and challenges they have. Now, why we've put this on is we've noticed a move in the aged care sector, the retirement sector. Obviously, a couple of years back when the big COVID hit, a lot of this went on hold and a lot of developments and things were put on ice. Now, it's good, very good to see this moving again. It's a very needed part of our economy. All these building structures, everyone's getting older, including all of us here today, and we need that care. So it's all about protecting and what's best for these sort of structures in this medi space, in this aged care space, hospital, healthcare space. So we'll be looking at what some of the key components are, and as far as getting the best approach for your slabs and these type of builds, and then right through to what's best for you. What's going to give you that assurance, what's going to give you that warranty, that guarantee performance, and something that you can rely on, something that you can hang your hat on and say, yep, I'm happy with what we've achieved there. So let's jump into what contamination is. Brad, do you want to take us away?
Awesome, thanks for that, Hayden. Yeah, let's talk about contamination. Sorry, are people not picking up my audio? Someone just said it's fine now, so that's good. All right, let's talk about contamination. So like I said, or you probably didn't hear me, but I just started to talk about contamination and hygiene. We really need to look at contamination in concrete in all aspects and understand how contamination comes into concrete in the first place. So this is whether we're talking about a concrete slab or a hygiene situation, a bridge or a wharf, or whatever it may be, contamination can get into concrete. This is because concrete is porous by nature. And the reason being is that when concrete's being cured or when it's first poured, it's obviously in a soft or a plastic state, and moist or water or excess water, or bleed water as they call it, comes back out of the concrete and leaves behind capillaries through the concrete. In this picture here, it's shown as a blue pass, and that's going through the calcium silicate hydrate in the sand. That's shown in the grey, and then you've got your aggregates around that. So the important thing to remember is that these capillaries that the moisture leave become a permanent part of the concrete. This is in there for the life of the concrete. So these don't close up over time, or they don't get smaller, they don't disappear, they're there. And we've got to remember that once this moisture's gone out, it can also get back into the concrete at any stage of the concrete's life. So moisture's coming back in, it brings back contaminants, whatever these contaminants be, that starts wearing or breaking down the concrete. Why is this a problem? So now back to a hygienic situation. The reason this is a problem, say we're in an aged care situation, contaminants have got into the floor, you get more moisture in there, then you start getting bacterial and fungal growth inside the concrete. So you could imagine deep down inside the concrete, it's very dark, there's moisture there, so it's damp. It's a perfect growing platform for these sort of things to happen. And one of the reasons, or one of the ways we can tell this is happening, is because of the odours in the room. No doubt people have been in these sort of situations, and you can smell it, and it's not good, and also this can't be cleaned away easily. So we're not talking about a surface clean, just give it a good scrub and you've got rid of it. This is deep inside the concrete. We work on refurb projects where even a good grind doesn't get rid of this bacteria that's deep inside the concrete. The other issue that you do find is that the actual concrete itself starts to prematurely age. So it starts to break down the actual matrix of the concrete. You get your steel starting to rust out. This starts to crack open and you start getting the concrete cancer. We also see that a fair bit in refurbs, where you pull up your floor coverings and then you've got concrete cancer underneath, and you have to deal with that before you go on with your refurb. So you're talking a large sum of money to get this sorted. Back to you, Hayden.
Yes, no, that's good. No doubt we've all, as Brad said, no doubt we've all walked into an older age facility and noticed the odour, and predominantly that is coming from the concrete, and because urines, biofluids, that things like that do get into the concrete very easy through the carpets, through even you might have carpets that are like vinyl backed, etc. Over time they'll break down with the wear on the concrete, and moisture does get through and into the concrete. So that's the sort of thing we'll need to protect it about. Thanks anyone that's still joining us. Already kicked off, but feel free to ask questions. Q&A function at the bottom there, and we'll have a session at the end. So let's look at what sort of slabs are at risk. I've talked about aged care. Hospitals is a big one. Obviously hygiene is of most importance. Healthcare, anything healthcare, dental clinics, doctors, facilities, things like this. Laboratories is another big one, and universities, schools, things like that. And then right through to like animal housing, kennels, those sort of facilities, and then public spaces, even stadiums and things where we've done a lot of prison work in this sort of, protecting against contaminants getting into the concrete, into these sort of examples. So there is a lot of scope and a lot of need really for protecting concrete. So no doubt you all have projects in mind. That's why, and a big portion of your designers today. So some of these might ring bells as we go through, and please feel free to raise a hand and ask a question about them. So what's the long-term cost? First, let's look at the cost of doing nothing. So obviously, straight up, you're saving money on your structure, building it. But over time, that degradation of concrete is huge. That cost of maintenance is huge. The cost of hygiene, the cost to keep clean is huge. And then for the tenants themselves, who's using the facility, what do they get, and how do they react to what the concrete's giving them, if you know what I mean? So often in a high care dependency unit in a aged care facility, they'll almost renovate a room every time they get a new tenant, and that often involves pulling up the flooring, and if it hasn't been treated, grinding back, getting back to something nice and clean and starting again. So these sort of things are huge dollars and time over the life of a structure if it's not done right at the start. So this is the sort of things we need to start thinking about, and getting into design, getting into the project, and creating what's actually needed for this job. So if we just jump to the next slide, let's have a deep dive right inside concrete. So I don't know how many of you are concrete technologists on here or know much about concrete. Well, neither do I really, but I know a little bit. And I just want to share a little bit about this. This is looking right inside concrete through a microscope now. And as you can see, the large big plates, that look like sort of rice cracker wafers there, they're calcium hydroxide plates. And they're formed through the cement and the reaction process, and all through the concrete. That's sort of the strength of the concrete. But as you can see around them, there's a lot of area, there's a lot of holes around them, and there's a lot of porous activity around it. That's the area that moisture and contaminants get into. As you can see at the bottom of the picture, it's quite dense, very dense, and that's calcium silicate hydrate forming there. So that's the grey matter, the real binder in concrete, and that's very dense, and that's good. But the up above that is where what needs blocking and needs densifying. So we do that through a treatment, which we bring in a colloidal silica treatment into the concrete and the formation of a hydrogel. And I don't know if anyone on this call has seen us do it before, but to actually create the gel in the little jar, some of you probably might have seen it already, but that gel is forming in all these little pores. Now, we have to remember this is at microscopic level, so even a hair out of, not the front of my head, but the back of my head would look, similar size to this, if you know what I mean. So we do this through a spray applied treatment or admixture. Spray applied is best for this aged care sector we're talking about, because it does your curing as well. We'll run through some of these things soon, but hydrogel doesn't introduce anything foreign to the concrete, so it's just creating more of the good stuff, more of that calcium silicate hydrate, and really densifying all that area. And then it prevents moisture moving up or down or in. It prevents moisture moving through the concrete, and obviously prevents contaminants growing and moving into the concrete. So things like Brad's talking about fungal growth, etc., that needs moisture to grow. If you stop it and take it away moisture migration, you're effectively stopping and increasing hygiene in those sectors. And now another quick note is environmentally safe. This project, no doubt, we're all building Green Star nowadays, and Green Building Council Australia, New Zealand, all looking for solutions, and we can say we have ticked those boxes and recognised now by Green Building Council for these treatments. So that's good. If we're going to jump a bit forward again, Brendo, thanks. Now we've got this. This is jumping back to that slide we looked at earlier. So we were looking right into the concrete. Now we're coming back. So as we apply this as a cure. So you pour your slabs, and then your trowels, your ride-on trowels or your your float to work in the slab, and then that's finished. The concrete places are finished. Markham come on and provide this treatment and spray it across the top. And as Brad said, it comes back through this road system. And fills up those porosities, fills up those pores in the concrete. Now, what that's doing is retaining that moisture in there to keep curing, so it gives you a good quality slab. But then, more importantly, is the moisture control and the anti-contamination elements of it. It's going to give you long-term protection and 15-year warranty standard. So it's been a long-standing, say some of the aged care providers like Opal, Ryman, these guys have used it for years. Somerset, MetLife's, Japara, we've got a lot of track record with aged care facilities. So it's hopefully that makes sense. If it didn't, something through that, if you want a little bit more opened up, just pop it in the Q&A. But let's jump now to the next part, Brad.
Yes, sounds good. So these systems are all come under our Floortech system. So this is a moisture control system that's for under any resilient flooring system. So whether that's in a aged care or any type of flooring you're talking about. A couple of the main points. It complies with the ASTM E96. I'm not sure if everyone on this call is aware. This has recently been updated. Just to make sure that you are aware that we do apply to this, the newest version of this. If you have any questions on this or want further information, pop it in the Q&A and we can talk more about that later. Complies with AS 1884. And then, as Hayden was saying, curing and moisture control in the one system. Now, why we are sort of emphasising that one system is this is a huge time saver for a builder. So at curing stage, obviously your concrete needs curing, so you're doing something anyway. So having a system that you can apply at that same time, the one system which does your curing and moisturing, huge time saver. Your builders love it. It's available in the standard systems and also in the hygiene enhanced. Obviously at the moment we're concentrating more on the hygiene systems for your aged cares, but it's all there under that one Floortech system. You can look it up online. There's plenty more information on there with it. We need to talk about our end-to-end service. So this is pretty much what Markham is underpinned on. Every system we do, we offer this. So we work with the design and specification. So we actually have a team that their focus is on this sort of work. So working with designers, engineers, architects, looking at builds and working out where we can help them or if we can help them, and coming up with a specific solution for your build. And then we work on estimating. So we work closely with builders all around the country, working with the estimating team, coming up with the best way we can quote on, or the way we can do the job. Looking at obviously for the builders, any cost savings we can offer them as well. And then the big part, as Hayden said earlier, we do the application of this product as well. So we supply and apply it. We have guys on site, so we've got a full team around Australia and New Zealand that are perfectly capable of coming out and doing this work for you. So this is all underpinned by our quality control. So everything we do is documented, which allows us to give our warranties. So we don't just give a product warranty, we give a full performance-based warranty. So this is for your full peace of mind, or for your client's peace of mind. Our standard warranties are 15 years. So we're not warranting the product, we're warranting the end result. So whether it's moisture control under your floor coverings, we're warranting that no moisture can come up through your slab. With that does end our Wednesday webinar for today. Keen for any more questions, you can pop through in there. We'll spend a little bit of time answering them now. You can also email your questions if they're a little bit more project specific, or you want a bit more detail on them, or actual physical information, and we'll deal with them. Emails are up there. We'll leave them up for a little bit longer. You can take them down.
Question for you, Brad, to kick off. I don't think we discussed it, but what age slab can this be added to? Does it have to go on as a cure?
No, great point. Great question. We should have covered that. So obviously the best time to do it is at cure stage. But then when we're talking about older buildings, we did say we do refurbs. So the reason we go on at this stage is obviously if it hasn't been done at that cure stage, there's no issues going on at any time. So whether that's if it has been missed at cure stage, we can go down just before the floor layers go down, or any other stage, when they're doing that refurb and ripping it up and need to deal with it then. Add on that one.
Cool. And tell me about the compatibility. That's always a question. Someone's probably asked it already, but floor covering always goes over top of these things. How does that work?
Yeah, this is a penetrating system. As we showed in those earlier images, we're going back down through those capillaries. So it's not a surface solution, and it's all doing its work inside the concrete, and it doesn't introduce anything foreign into the concrete. So no compatibility issues. Anything that's designed to be used on bare concrete can be used on a Floortech treated slab as well.
That's good. Cheers. A couple of questions here. How long is the warranty? So Markham's very project specific, but standard warranty on our MediSeal system is 15 years performance. So that means 15 years of protection of moisture movement and contaminant ingress into the concrete. So hopefully that answers that. Tell us more about the AS 1884 compliance. Yeah, good. So last year, the standards board went through the fluorine standard and for resilient fluorine. So that's all your vinyl fluorine, things like that. And really made it easier to get right overall as far as what's needed. And I think it's just Australia at the moment, but no doubt New Zealand will follow. So they added a test in there to be compliant to E96, which is an American test, and that's testing moisture vapor over a period of time that's coming out of the concrete. So to get a system to comply, and it has been difficult. But we've got that certificate now, and we can apply to that as 1884. So hopefully that makes sense.
Another question comes through. How long after spraying can we lay floor finishes? So if we're doing a retrofit, it's 72 hours. So we do have to give the concrete time to take in the system and make sure any reactions are finished before we start laying floors. Typically in these situations, we sort of do the work on the Fridays or towards the end of the week. They leave it over the weekend, and then the floor layers can kick off on Monday. So it works pretty well in that way. And then on new concrete, so if it goes down at curing stage, 25 days after that, you can go your floors. So it can actually speed up time programs as well. As far as it's often used in schools and those sort of situations where they've got a tight timeline and they're trying to lay their floor coverings a bit quicker than you normally would.
Oh, question around alkalinity levels. Does it affect alkalinity levels? Now, the product itself in a pail is high pH, but when it's because it's applied as a light coat to the concrete, it does not affect the finished levels of the concrete itself, so to speak. It's not enough product per square meter or per coverage to affect the concrete surface. So no, it doesn't. It won't, even over time, it won't affect the alkalinity level that the concrete gave itself, if that makes sense. Does that hopefully answers that. The spraying or additive provide a better finish. Finish as in concrete finish, or if anyone wants to expand on that question, or the performance. So there's two different things here. Spraying, the spray treatment goes on, and it's probably more effective for what we're talking about as far as moisture control and hygiene contamination. But when you're starting to look at basement or waterproofing or protecting like marine structures or wastewater, things like this, that's when additive comes in, and then it's right through your whole concrete matrix. As far as the finish of the concrete, it's you wouldn't know it's in there as such. It's not a product that can be seen from the surface, and you'll get just as good a finish. It closes off, finishes really well, pumps places well. So if that didn't answer that question, or didn't make sense, just pop another note in there, or anyone else that may have a follow-up question to those ones. Thanks, it was good round of questions. It was good. Also, we'll send out emails straight after this with a quick survey. Give us some feedback, tell us how it went, and if you have got any follow-up questions, we're more than happy to take a call on that as well. So thanks again for joining, taking part of your day to learn. Good to see you all on board. Oh, here's another one. Brad, do you want to say that?
Sorry, I was in the wrong box.
Would you use this in public areas and aged care footpaths?
No reason why not to. We do footpaths and those sort of things. Typically, it doesn't always come to the scope, and we do use another product, one of our products, which is a more standard curing and sealing product rather than a full hygiene protection. But just on that note, in things like vets or dog kennels, those sort of things, we do obviously any concrete they do have because of the nature of the beast, you might say. But typically around an aged care would just use a standard sealing product. But yeah, it can be used, no doubt about that at all.
We actually do a lot into like not so much footpaths, but like prison training facilities and things like that, and stadiums, where you got food and drink all over stadiums. So that sort of protection is required. Where you just foot traffic itself is probably an overkill for the product as such.
Basically a level of risk that you'd look into, and make a decision off that.
That's good. We'll wait for a minute longer, see if anything else pops on. Otherwise, everyone, enjoy your day. Feel free to log off if you're done. But thanks very much for joining. That's good. Informal CPD certificate. Now we can provide a certificate that you've joined this. We do have a CPD presentation as well, which if you want to get in touch with us, we can do a formal CPD presentation and earn those credits there as well. So ideally you and the team, and we can tee up a time to do that. That's good.
Cool. Another question's come in about bathroom set downs. So bathroom set downs would also be another area as a screed is usually laid over. Would you suggest leaving these spaces and spraying after? Typically, we spray it at the cure stage. So we spray the concrete in the set down. We spray the whole slab in that one spray. The reason being is when they put the screed on, they also do waterproofing around that before they tile or whatever they're doing in their bathroom. So it's got, if you like, it's got two levels of protection. You've got your underneath your screed, your slab has been protected by the Floortech system, and then the screed's been protected by the bathroom waterproofing system.
You can do the screed. A lot of screed has the polymers in them that have an element of protection in themselves. So they almost carry their own moisture protection to a point, not guaranteed. But the main thing is to start getting to the slab. That's where the degradation works, if you know what I mean. But we have definitely done screeds. We also do a lot in the UK, and they build everything with screeds. So a lot of that, they pour their floors terrible and then lay the water heating system through it, and then always use screed. So do a lot of that, and then similar into bathrooms. But like Brad says, the main thing is to come through, treat your whole slab, especially as a cure, to set dust and everything at that point, and then it's a free run for the builders and finishers. That's good. Good questions. Thanks all.
Awesome. Everybody.
Right, that's probably us over and out. Thanks for joining. Keep posted for the next one. Thanks for coming on board. Thanks all.